In this video, we're going to be talking about finding the degree and leading coefficient of a polynomial. A polynomial is a function f of x equals a sub n x to the n plus a sub n minus 1 x to the n minus 1 plus all the way down until we get to a sub 2 x squared plus a sub 1 x plus a sub 0. In this, our a's are coefficients. So they're just plain numbers. And then we have x raised to some power. So an example of a polynomial would be f of x equals 3x to the fourth plus 5x cubed plus 6x squared plus x plus 29. We need to look at what makes a function not a polynomial. A function's not a polynomial if it has a rational. So a couple ways this could be written is, say you have f of x equals 1 over x minus 1. That would make it not a polynomial because you have x in the bottom of a fraction. Or it could be written as f of x equals x to the negative 3. If you have that negative exponent, it's no longer a polynomial. If you see somewhere in your function that you have an absolute value of x, say you have 3x squared plus the absolute value of x plus 1, that's no longer a polynomial. And lastly, if you see that you have a root of x, whether it be a square root, a cube root, whatever root, if you see a root of x in your function, it's no longer a polynomial. So you could have something that looks like f of x equals 5x to the third plus square root of x. That's not a polynomial. Or it could look like a fractional exponent, like f of x equals x to the 1/3. If you see any of these things, your function's not a polynomial. So therefore, we can't talk about the degree and the leading coefficient of it. So the degree of a polynomial is the highest power of the polynomial. And the leading coefficient is the coefficient with the x with the highest power. The reason it's called the leading coefficient is if you wrote your polynomial in terms of highest power first and then decreasing until you get to the smallest power, the coefficient that's with the highest power would be the very first one, the leading coefficient. So let's look at a couple of examples. In this first example, we have f of x equals 3x to the fifth plus 4x cubed plus 3x squared plus 19. So first, let's find the degree. The degree is our highest power. So if we look at our powers, we have 5, 3, and 2. So 5 is going to be our highest power, so our degree is 5. Next, let's look at our leading coefficient. Our highest power was 5, so the coefficient that goes with that x to the fifth is 3, so that's our leading coefficient. In our second example, we have f of x equals 23x squared plus x cubed minus 4x to the fifth. So let's look for our highest power for our degree. So we have 2, 3, and 5. So again, our degree is 5. So what is our leading coefficient? Our leading coefficient is the coefficient with the x that has the highest power. So our leading coefficient is going to be negative 4. Finally, let's look at our third example. We have f of x equals 3x squared minus 5x to the negative 3 plus 4x plus 6. This is a little bit of a trick question because we have x to the negative 3. That means this is not a polynomial. So we can't find a degree and leading coefficient.